in Galesburg, small town, Rio, Illinois. It's my wife over here, Becky. She's probably the best thing that's ever happened to me. She came down with me tonight. And I wanted to let you know that I'm running for circuit judge. That's going to be for the 6-county area. It includes McDonough County. I live in the Rio area. We have 3 wonderful kids. One's 20, the other's 18. They both attend college. And we've got a younger daughter that attends the high school up there, Rova High School. One of the things about when you run for judge is there's a Supreme Court rule, and it kind of puts a clamp on somebody like me who's talking to a group of good Democrats like we have here tonight, and it tells us, you know, we don't want you, when you run for judge, to talk to people about the issues. We don't want you to tell them how you would go on a certain issue. So we can't tell you how we vote on a case if that case were before us. But what I do when I campaign, when I talk to people like you who really need to know what a person is like, is if you know about us, if you know who Jim Harrell is, and you know my soul and my heart, you know a little bit about me, then you're going to be able to judge yourself for how I'll be on the bench. A little bit about me. My dad had a 6th grade education. He was born in 1913 and he was in his 20s right about the Depression time. My memories of my dad was when he'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and he'd have his trousers out heating them over the old coal furnace duct before he put them on to go out and do his construction work. And he was out in ice cold weather from 5 in the morning till 6 or 7 at night, and he would always tell me as a kid, I want you to have a better life. I want you to do better than I did. Likewise, my mother, she went through high school, but she spent her entire life working very, very hard. My dad was in the union, but my mom was just a babysitter. And I say just a babysitter, it was an important role, but she worked very hard from day until night. And so when I grew up, they told me to try to be a better person. I wouldn't be here today, frankly, if it wasn't for the Democratic Party. When I went through college, there were programs that Congress passed that were signed into law that helped somebody like me who didn't have parents who had a lot of income, and you could go to college. When you went on to law school, there were other programs that Democrats supported that helped me get where I am today. So when people ask me, how are you going to run, what party are you going to run in? I said, I'm running the Democratic Party because they are for the people, like my mother and father was. So when you go to the voting booth this March or next November and you look down the list and you're looking at the names, I want you to remember what I grew up as. I also worked. I mean, as a kid, as soon as I was summers from high school, you know, Dad and Mom would say, you get down and you do this. You work your way through college. You may get some assistance, but Dad couldn't flip the bill. You know, and when I went to law school, it was a government loan that Dad didn't pay back. I had to take care of that bill. I've been an attorney for 25 years. I served in Knox County. I was appointed up there in 1989 and served 25 years as public defender. I've seen it all. I've had homicide cases. I've had rape cases, murder cases, ATF cases, you name the law enforcement, I've dealt with all of them, and I've done all the kind of cases there are. Now some of you may be saying, why is a judge position important? Well, here's why, and I want everybody to pay specific attention to this. In the 6-county area, ever since I've been here, there are 10 circuit judges. 10. And surprise, out of those 10 judges, the majority has always been Republican. This race can change that. So next November, when you look at your ballot, think about that. The policies, the guidelines that are set by the judiciary right now are controlled by the Republican judges. If Mr. Hansen over here and I can win this election, and you get 2 more Democratic judges in your circuit, we get to pick associate judges. Now you may be saying, what's an associate judge? Well, there's 2 different kinds. There's the circuit judges who are elected by the people. Once they're elected, they get to pick little judges, is what I call them, because they're appointed by the bigger judges. And I've been here since 1989. Every judge that I have seen appointed and if I'm wrong, somebody's going to tell me eventually, but every judge that I've seen appointed has been a Republican. Now, I'm not saying they're not qualified to be a judge, but magically those associate judges then run against somebody like me or Mr. Hansen. And they say, well, I've been a judge. So it's a system that has slowly evolved. It's the judicial system. It's what we have to work with. And the only way we're going to get word out to you folks is by telling you it's really important that you get some judges in there that are in the Democratic Party. I'm going to close this evening with a story that a good friend of mine told me. He had a daughter who was in school, and he sat down with his daughter. She was learning the states, the United States, 50 states. So Dad cut up all the states into little bitty pieces, cut them up. He laid them all down on a table, and he said to her, okay, honey, now what I want you to do is I want you to take the 50 states next door, you put them all together and tape them, bring them back to Dad, and we'll see if you're right. So she took off, and she was gone for a little bit. He thought it'd be a while. He told me, he said, you know what, she was back in probably 15 minutes. She laid down the map in front of me, and everything was right. He looked at her, he said, honey, how could you have put all those 50 states together so well? And what she said was absolutely profound. She said, Dad, the Democrats put this country together. Dad looked at her and said, what do you mean the Democrats put the country together? What do you mean? So she turned it over. And on the back side of the United States was a campaign ad for a Democratic candidate. And so the little girl simply just took the Democratic campaign ad and put it together. Now that's a good story, but you know, after I started thinking and listening about that, I thought to myself, what has made this country the way it is today? My dad voted for FDR 3 times. And what has taken care of the working force in this country, and what has taken care of the people like you and I? The Democratic Party. So a lot of what that little girl said was referring to the newspaper, but a lot of what the little girl said also refers to the people like David and our other candidate here is running for state representative. I'm sorry. John. I've been with John and him at several different things. That's right, and what counts is the kind of people that you're putting in. And this guy is breaking legs to get around and meet with people. David and I are trying to do the same thing. So it's only a year away, but trust me, time flies. And if you can just remember and you're at work, and you say, well, I saw this guy named Jim Harrell, or I saw the guy who was running for a rep, or I saw the guy who was running for the other judge position, and you share with them what's happening here. The only way we can do that is at the grassroots level. And I want to thank Mr. Trotter for having us tonight, because there's a large group of people here. We've been to other locations, but it's the little things like this that help us. And then Lee gets in touch with us, and we go somewhere else. And next November, if we do like we're doing tonight, and we talk like we're talking tonight, we can move this country forward. And if you help me and Mr. Hansen out, you can make sure that we have a majority of Democratic judges on the bench in this circuit. Thank you.